Welcome back to another episode of Asheville Real Estate News during our multi-week coverage of the elections. Really excited to share the conversation we had with Donna Ensley, who's running for Buncombe County Commissioner. Good conversation, kind of went all over the place. But tune on in, let us know what you think, and most importantly, get out there and vote and share with your friends. Thank you, and we'll catch you on the next one. Welcome to the show, Donna. Thank you so much for joining us today. Excited to chat with you. So, I guess great starting place as always. Do you mind just sharing a little bit about your background and how you got here to Asheville?
Wow. I moved to Asheville in 1987.
Mm-hmm.
I was a young mother, and my husband moved here to take a job with Beacon Manufacturing, an organization that's no longer around. And we were excited to move to Asheville from Winston-Salem. I just fell in love with the mountains the minute we got here, although I will tell you that the year we moved here was April 8th. There was 8 inches of snow on the ground, and I thought, what have we done moving to a place where it's cold and wintry when it's spring in Winston-Salem? But it was a fantastic place to move to, and just raised our family here, built a community of friends, and got involved immediately.
You said 87?
87, yeah.
So you've been here for a while.
32, soon to be 33 years. I've seen a lot of growth and changes. In fact, when I first moved here, as you've heard, downtown was boarded up. What is now the Fine Arts Theater was a porn theater. Pack Place was just beginning to get off the ground. In fact, I was part of an organization that was deeply involved in the health adventure and getting it off the ground in Pack Place. So It was a lot of changes.
Yeah. So sharing memories of downtown, I remember when I first moved here, it was 2009, and I think it was 2010 or 2011. I was living in Black Mountain, but I got a job at a restaurant waiting tables, and I remember driving downtown on a little scooter because I didn't have a car yet, and being like, wow, this place is like, I don't know if I feel comfortable leaving my scooter anywhere here. And just remembering back then, like, I hope I come, like, there's a scooter here when I come back out. And I ended up parking at where the AC hotel is, or the Aloft Hotel, sorry. Which just used to be a huge parking lot. So it's a lot of changes.
But.
So, you're running. And I think from what I could find online, at least this is your first time running, right?
No, I ran in 2018.
Oh, my apologies there then. So,
yeah.
Prior to 2018, what?
Well, I ran in 2018 in what was then a very gerrymandered district. I ran against Robert Presley, who is a local hometown hero.
Okay.
And as the districts were gerrymandered, this one was one that had never been won by a Democrat, or no one even came close, and I came within about 700 votes. So it was really an upset. Just even though I lost, it was quite an upset to get even that close.
So it was really encouraging. That was the silver lining, I guess, or the moral victory, as they say.
Yeah, well, because I don't think anybody in the Democratic Party even thought it could be done.
Wow.
Terry Van Dyne lost in that area, as well as so did I think David King. There were just several before me, and maybe it was just the time, 2018.
Yeah.
We saw a resurgence of voting for women, and anyway, so it wasn't a victory, but it wasn't a deep loss. It took everyone by surprise.
Yeah, and obviously it paved the way for you to be here with us today, running again. So, it kind of leads back to that. What happened prior to 2018 when you decided to run the first time for you, especially then? Like, this is a really great question. Is like, why did you go into that knowing it was an incredibly huge uphill battle then? And I guess why have you stayed in it now?
Those are really good questions. So like I said, in 1987 when I moved here, raised my family, lived in North Asheville, got deeply involved in the community, first with the PTO. I was involved with my kids' school all the way through high school. I also got involved with the YWCA and was president of the YWCA board. when we almost lost the YWCA in the early
wow.
90s. And then it was all of my work with nonprofit organizations, United Way, and as a volunteer that finally led into a change of career, and I became a nonprofit development professional. I was the only person who, at the end of the day, said, "Oh, I'll be happy to do the fundraising," because I loved it. I absolutely loved it. So in the right around 2000, I went to work with Simpson Steel Consulting. And began working on capital campaigns for organizations that wanted to transform their whole business model and grow. So the reason I'm giving you this long background is that my background is in helping organizations plan strategically for growth and development, get community investment in that, and so that it makes it possible. The last capital campaign I worked on in my last place that I retired from Manna Food Bank in 2016 after a large capital campaign and 8 years of being there and watching it grow and change and serve our community in Western North Carolina. So I'm sitting here in Buncombe County, and this is a place I've called home and loved. And it just astounds me that there's no plan for growth and development that seems to be in place, no strategic plan. And we need to do something because we're watching it change so quickly. And I can just don't see that the county commission, well, they didn't have a handle on anything, not even Wanda Green at that point in time. Yeah. So that was my motivation for running. No one else talked about in 2018 as a platform issue, I want a strategic plan for growth and development. Ironically, this time around, Robert Presley, who's running as for the chair of county commission against Brownie Newman, says he wants a strategic plan for growth and development. And so, Parker Sloan is saying that. So is Terry Wells. So is everyone who's running for county commission, which is good. That means we are going to get that. But I was just sitting back and watching what was going on and saying, this has been changing too fast, and we need to do something now.
Does it feel like very encouraging to hear that everybody's kind of coming to this? It sounds like that's kind of the most important issue on your platform is the planning and the development.
And when I say yes, it is my most important issue, but because it encompasses everything.
Right, I was about to ask, is like the ripple effect, like it's the umbrella that covers.
It's not just the traffic situation. It's land use planning, but it's also looking at how do we put the infrastructure in place first before we build. And we have to partner with NCDOT. I've been attending a lot of their meetings, and their model is unfortunately quite backwards. They will not put roads in until there's a high demand, which makes it so you're already suffering by the time, and the land is way more expensive by the time there's high demand. But they do have master plans, and they're working on I think a 2045 master plan right now. So looking at that plan and using that as a guideline, and also looking at where our corridors are that we can actually have better transportation networks built in, I think we need to look at that and as where do we plan for that growth and development. And my goal would be to preserve and protect farmland where the farmers want their farmland protected and work with them on that. I'm all for greenways and bikeways, but I know it's a lot cheaper if you buy that land now than it's going to be when it's developed in 15 years. So putting that together in a master plan to me makes a lot of sense.
And just trying to stay ahead of the curve a little bit. Yeah.
Catch up and then get ahead of the curve, yeah.
As you've been, out campaigning, and I guess you got, 2 campaign cycles now that you've seen, I've been asking this because I'm really curious to know, is there been consistent issues that you keep rising to the top, or is it people are placing importance, but just a lot of different issues, or has there been a common,
Well, I'm running on the Democratic Party ticket.
Right.
So I totally embrace the platform. I totally embrace supporting education. I have always been behind protecting our environment. I think climate change is interesting to me because this is an issue that we're talking about this year. And that's important.
Yeah.
I've been like, why haven't we been talking about this so much sooner? However, last time around, what are you going to do about the opioid crisis was being asked, and no one's even mentioning that this time. It's not like we've gotten a handle on it yet, but we did, nail Big Pharma a little bit, but it's not over. There's still so much more to do. Things are. Some things are changed and some things are the same, but mostly it's what is being kind of brought up locally as an issue. This time around, TDA, people are, what are you going to do about that? Whereas 2 years ago, it wasn't an issue at all. Yeah.
Well, we had a really interesting conversation with Stephanie Brown, who runs or CEO of the TDA, and I thought she did a really good job. And we'll try to if anybody's curious, check it out. But do you feel that you guys are in a position to partner well with TDA, or does it feel a little adversarial as far as what goals and outcomes are going to look like there?
That's a really good question, and I think we are in a totally perfect place if we can get the county or the city and other municipalities to partner with us on some strategic priorities to come together and work with the TDA on specific funding that would go across the county. Specifically, I'm interested in help with greenways and sidewalks and help people get around in ways that are safe, that are not in their cars.
Right.
I recently, this past summer, for a special birthday present to myself, my husband and I went to Germany on a bike and barge trip. It was fantastic.
I'm very jealous just that
you should be.
That.
You should be. It was great. Yeah, I didn't want to come home.
Sounds amazing.
But what was so spectacular about that, and this is a second bike trip in Germany I have done, and that they built the greenways 25 years ago through little towns, and the economic impact of that has kept those little towns helped them be vibrant economies with tourist dollars, with you've got restaurants, you've got just this quaint little towns, while the people are still having to go to other larger areas for main employment. Right. They're still able to have a vibrant economy at home and preserve their sweet little towns. And the people who live there have the opportunity to enjoy these greenways and this outdoor healthy lifestyle, just like the rails to trails and things like that. I can see. I came back 22 years ago from a bike trip like that and thought, why don't we do that here? And we're finally getting around to it. So
yeah, it's so I live in the North Asheville area right now, and the Woodfin Wave project would be very close to me when it kind of ends up getting developed. And I know there's a lot of different opinions on it. Personally, I'm pretty excited about it, and hopefully that they link up to the greenway that goes downtown. So yeah, it's I share your excitement there, I guess.
Well, and think about it this way. Think, what would it be like? We've got all of these that had been little communities. Weaverville was its own community. Woodfin was sort of a community. I used to live in North Asheville. Of course, that had its own little networks of shops and things. And Montford. But if you had greenways that connected all of these areas, they could themselves become smaller, just vibrant economies around a hub that you could connect with a bike trail, walking trail. So let's just get on our bikes and go to Weaverville for lunch today, and it's safe. Yeah. I just could see how it could be, but you have to plan now to make it happen.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, there's so many issues at hand. So instead of me trying to anticipate what we should talk about, I figured it might be a better approach to give you the opportunity to choose what's you personally think is the most important, or what you're the most excited about addressing, and we can start there, and so give you the floor on kind of what you would say is the first agenda item for you, and then we can just take it from there.
Well, my first agenda item is infrastructure.
Okay.
But since that's so encompassing everything, and where I live now in South Buncombe, there is just, it's overdeveloped. I was actually at the Overlook Anyway, there was an overlook project before the Board of Adjustments, and this is one of many Board of Adjustment meetings I've attended recently, where we're overbuilding in an area that the roads can't support it, and it's overcrowding our schools. So I think we need to look at the what's the word I want to say, comprehensive impact of what we're doing, rather than looking, or cumulative impact, rather than just looking at a one-off project. It's one thing if you're building 200 apartments.
Right.
And the next person comes along and, half mile down the road puts in another 200 apartments. And somebody else comes along and does the same. And within 2 years, within a 3-mile radius, we've had over 1,000 apartments go in, and another 615 going in. And that's overcrowding our schools. It's having a huge impact on traffic. The fire department, the roads, the 2-lane roads are everything's feeding into a 2-lane road. So that is something that is immediate that we need to address. I'm passionate about education. My family, I went to public schools. My husband is a native, and he grew up going to public schools. In fact, his dad was the principal of T.C. Robertson when they integrated. And they named the field after him, the football field after him. But we have seen, since the General Assembly changed at the state level, such cutting of our public education from the state, and we've had to augment it. And we've done a pretty good job in Buncombe County with doing so much better spending to support our classrooms than some other counties have done, because we're a wealthier county. But there's still so much more we could do. I was just talking to a band teacher the other day, and she told me that she is a band teacher for Irwin and Eblin middle schools, and her per pupil expenditure that she's allocated from the county is 85 cents a year.
Per student?
Per student. And I said, well, what do you do? She said, well, that's just basically to buy music, but we end up fundraising and doing other things.
Right.
But, that's a band is a way for a student who's not an athlete to engage and be part of community and get self-esteem. And so I think we're losing the arts in our schools, and it's a different form of self-expression that helps kids achieve. We need to look at ways to we don't cut the funding for those special programs that help our kids.
My mom and my grandpa have been lifelong educators. My mom's still in the education space, and so it's always interesting to hear about education, because I've grown up and seen it all. And 85 cents just is like astounding.
It's not even half a cup of coffee,
Yeah, you're not getting very far with that.
I went back to her and I said, because so we were talking at a restaurant, and she was telling me what she did, and I was just astounded to hear that. And we have in the basement 2 old band instruments, and I was like, well, do you ever need any? Because we didn't know what to do with them, so I'm going to be getting those to her this weekend. Apparently they have the opportunity they have money in the county school budget to refurbish band instruments, but not to purchase them.
Interesting.
So so Irwin's going to be getting those. But then I went back to her and I said, you did say 85 cents, right? And she said, yes, 85 cents. Wow. So anyway, yes.
Well, good luck on that. That seems like that's a big.
It's just that it's not up to the county commission to tell the schools what to do. And I think we have a fantastic superintendent in Tony Baldwin. But I do think that we're going to have to help just financially and make it a priority.
I'm really glad that you shared that, so thank you. Kind of going to go bring it back a little bit on a selfish note for what we are real estate-wise. And I looked on your website and looked about your kind of some of the things or your issues on under affordable housing. And the first point I saw was, just going to read, it says, build on Buncombe County assets to attract quality employers and jobs that pay a living wage.
Yes.
And
at least a living wage.
Yeah. And I'm sure the idea there is that that's the bare minimum, and you're looking for people who are going above and beyond that. Tell me about why that's the first bullet point, or I don't know if it's the most important in your opinion, but at least for whatever reason it's first, and is that on purpose, or is it random, or?
Because I've been an advocate for a living wage for many reasons, especially with my work with Man of Food Bank, where we were augmenting people's food budgets so that they could pay their rent or pay for their medicine and stuff like that. So finding out that people, $7.25 is just not enough, and people have asked why wouldn't you just go for $15 an hour? And my reason for wanting to say at least a minimum of a living wage is because that varies. It varies across the state. It varies nationwide. And what is a living wage here is more than a living wage in Graham County. And it's going to, it just depends on what you need. So from a housing standpoint, I think you should be able to work and put a roof over your head, put food on your table, and provide for yourself if you're putting in the hours to work. So,
do you think that's going to come from companies or organizations that are currently here? I know you said attract, or do you think that there's something that the county could do to attract new businesses that would offer new employment opportunities that we don't already have?
Well, I know that they're working all the time, So with the Chamber of Commerce, with the state, to help relocate different businesses here. We have a specific asset in just the majesty of our mountains and the natural resources. So I totally think that it behooves us to look at bringing businesses that would partner in not only keeping those resources special, but could benefit from the resources that we have.
Yeah, and I think if you could show somebody the mountains here for long enough, they could find a good enough reason to move a business here.
The other side of it is though. So in 1987, when I moved here, I thought it was perfect, and I could have locked the door then. And everyone I've talked to every year ever since, when they move here, then it's like, okay, let's lock the door because I'm here now and I'm in, so I want it to stay this way. And I just know that isn't going to happen.
Right.
So it's past time, again, to plan for that growth and look at the trends. People are moving to North Carolina because our climate is so fantastic. And if you're going to move to North Carolina, why wouldn't you want to move to the mountains? I mean, it's the best place there is to live.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, how do people get in contact with you? Say somebody listened to this and they're like, hey, really enjoyed listening to Don. I want to learn more. Where do they go? How do they get plugged in with your campaign?
Well, I have a website. You can go to electdonna.com. You can email me at donnaensleybcc@gmail.com. Please go to my website and check me out. I'd love to have you do that. And we could certainly use some volunteers at the polls for early voting or on March 3rd.
Yeah, absolutely. And guys, we'll have that information there in the show notes so you can easily see the website and the email. What have we, or maybe we've talked about, but is there anything we haven't talked about that you want to take a couple moments to just chat about that I haven't asked you?
Yes, a lot.
Okay, well then please.
You missed it.
I missed it. Yeah. Well, let's make sure I don't miss it. Please.
So I guess one of the things that I wanted to share is that what sets me apart from my opponent in the primary is my many years of leadership experience. I sort of alluded to this as far as being president of the YWCA and serving on United Way boards, but I've risen to leadership roles in leading other nonprofits. Was the 101st president of the Rotary Club of Asheville and the 5th woman president of that club, and I'm now an assistant governor. And I was president of Helpmate and served on the board for 6 years at a time when people didn't even recognize that domestic violence was an issue. It was something that people didn't really want to talk about. And I look at how far these organizations have come, like the YWCA, whose mission is to empower women and eliminate racism. But it was a fledgling organization 20 years ago, and standing up for those kinds of rights at a time, social justice issues at a time when it wasn't the thing to do. I guess I've been on the front end of that, and I know that it takes someone who's willing to be accountable, to stand up for what they believe. And I've learned some lessons the hard way, but I've really learned that you have to listen as well as have a vision for what you want to accomplish. Because if you don't listen to why people aren't joining you, then you'll never understand and they'll never join you. And one of the strengths I think I have is the ability to not only lead, but to listen and get others to engage in the cause that I'm bringing forward. So that would be my heart's desire to help lead our community as it plans for its future.
No, well, I think, I'm glad I asked, because the learning to lead and listen and get people on board on a vision, that's a super important component to making change happen. Yeah. So, thank you for explaining that and sharing your viewpoint there on that. So, anything else, Donna?
Just vote Donna Ensley.
Absolutely. So, there you go, guys. It's elect.donnaensley.com, and then we'll get your email linked up in the show notes. And so if this conversation, resonated, it struck a chord, share it with your friends, and just check out all the messages, and most importantly, get out and vote.